Today's communication skills lesson is on direct and indirect objects. This can be found on exercise 71. Sentences are always made up of subjects and predicates. A subject is the who or what in the sentence, and the simple subject is always a noun. The predicate is what happens in the subject, and as we learned in earlier lessons, the simple predicate is always a verb or an action word. Sometimes the predicate in a sentence is just a verb and nothing else. So if we were to look at some examples, the choir sang, the choir would be the subject, sang would be the predicate, and it's just one verb. The same thing could happen for she laughed. She would be the subject, and laughed would be the verb or the action or what happened. A direct object is a noun or a pronoun that receives the action of a verb or answers the question what or whom. And we'll go through an example for each of these. If we look at the sentence, Azar devoured the sandwiches, Azar would be the subject. Devoured is going to be our verb, so the rest of this sentence will be the predicate. Devoured the sandwiches. So the action devoured, what received that action or what was devoured was the sandwiches. So they are the direct object of the verb devoured. Our second example is Kareem saw the doctor. So the who or the what that did the action is Kareem. He is the subject, and he saw the doctor. So saw is our verb or our action word, and so the doctor received the action of seeing, or you could ask, what did Kareem see? Oh, Kareem saw the doctor. So doctor is going to be our direct object in this sentence. An indirect object is, once again, a noun or a pronoun that tells to whom, for whom, to what, or for what something is done or given. So there needs to also be a direct object in the sentence, and hopefully this will make more sense once we go through a couple of examples. Our first example is Fred gave Trisha a pencil. So Fred is the subject of our sentence, right? He is the who or the what that did the giving. So gave is our verb. What did Fred do? He gave. Now this is where we have to decide. We have Trisha and we have a pencil. So we have two nouns. One of them is going to be our direct object. The other one is going to be our indirect object. So what did Fred give? To figure out the direct object, we ask our question, what or whom? So what did Fred give? Fred gave a pencil. So pencil is going to be our direct object because the pencil is what was given. To figure out the indirect object, we can say, okay, who was the pencil given to? To whom? To Trisha. So Trisha will be your indirect object. So we mark that with an IO. In our next example, Jenna told her the answer. Jenna would be our subject. And the action that's happening or the verb is told. So the predicate altogether would be told her the answer. Now, we need to figure out our two nouns or pronouns. So her is a pronoun and answer is a noun. So these are our indirect and direct objects. We just have to figure out which is which. So if we look, what did Jenna tell? Well, Jenna told the answer. Not what did Jenna tell? Well, Jenna told her. Jenna told it to her, but she told the answer. The answer is the direct object. I know this is confusing, but kind of bear with us. And who did she tell the answer to? To whom? To her. So her is the indirect object. Okay? what you'll notice is that most of the time in the examples we're given, the indirect object comes first, and then we have the direct object at the end. That's just a nice thing to keep in mind as you're doing your assigned questions, because it will probably continue that pattern. It tends to be the indirect object first and then the direct object. For part A, they are going to ask you to underline the verb in a sentence and then write DO above the direct object. In the example, Laura threw the ball, the action or the verb in this sentence is throwing. So threw would be our verb, so we just underline that. And then the direct object, what did Laura throw? Laura threw the ball. So we'll mark that with DO. For part B, you're going to be asked to look at the sentences and underline the verb, write DO above the direct object, and we're also going to have an indirect object. So you're going to write IO above all the indirect objects. In the sentence, I brought Danica her homework, the action is bring or brought, which is the past tense. So I brought Danica her homework. So what did I bring? I brought homework. So homework is going to be our direct object. Who did I bring the homework to? I brought it to Danica. So Danica will be my indirect object. For your fresh grade comment, I'm going to get you to write a sentence with an indirect and a direct object, but you will be labeling the indirect and direct objects differently than in your book because you can't write above them on the comments. So I would like you to type out your sentence. So I brought Danica. Instead of writing above it in brackets, I'm going to get you to put IO her homework. So homework is going to be our direct object. So we can put DO. Okay? And that's it. Just one example for fresh grade. Okay?